If you've watched this channel, you know that I'm an R6 champion that gives you tips on how to get better, or occasionally just making videos for fun on my stream. Now yes, I've hit champion a few times. I'm not going to say I'm the best R6 YouTuber out there, but I'm definitely above average at the game than most players. But I wasn't always this way. In fact, I was Hardstuck Gold for my first year of playing Rainbow Six Siege on console. So how did I go from a Hardstuck Gold to a PC champion, and how did I do it in 1 year? In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I did and exactly how you can do it just like me. Now, the first thing that I did to get better at Rainbow Six Siege is to watch people that were better than me. Whether it is watching Pro League or watching videos like this to teach you how to get better. So if you're watching this video, fortunately, you're already on the right track. Watching people like me or watching Pro League is going to help you get better, not because you're just watching them, but simply because of the fact that you're watching them and you're trying to take note of what they're doing and why they're doing it. So you don't want to just watch something, you want to try to actually learn from it. But there's only so many things I can tell you about how to watch something, so let's move on to the next thing that made me better. The second thing that I did to get better at the game was working on my aim. And there's many ways that you can do this. First of all, you need a consistent warm-up routine. The best warm-up routine that you can have is starting in the shooting range. If you struggle with recoil like I did back when I was a Hardstuck Gold, the best thing you can do is come into lane 1 and use a gun on this target right here to see a recoil pattern. For example, when I was Hardstuck Gold, I loved playing mute. I was always more of a support man myself, but controlling the SMG-11 was my hardest task. As you can see by the recoil, it's not that forgiving. Back in the day, it actually used to be a little bit easier, but for me, it never really was. So if you want to control recoil on a weapon better, all you have to do is analyze its spray pattern without controlling the recoil at all. With this recoil pattern, I didn't touch my mouse at all, but I saw that it goes up and it goes to the left. So when I go to control the recoil and practice it, I know I need to pull down and to the right. And this is what my smoke recoil would look like after trying it for the first time. As you can see, it was pretty dead on, and actually I'm controlling recoil a bit too much, but you get the idea. Controlling recoil is one of the most important parts about Rainbow Six Siege, as there's not a lot of mechanics in this game compared to other games like Overwatch, Apex, and Fortnite. If you don't need to work on recoil and you don't need to have that in your warm-up routine, then I honestly recommend skipping lane 1 and lane 2 and just going to lane 3. This is where you're going to practice your tracking and your flicking for the day. If you want to practice tracking, put on these settings. These settings will spawn in dummies, and you can use the head of the dummies and track them, and then eventually go for a shot when you feel ready to do so, which will warm up your tracking and allow you to recover any missed shots that you might make. If you need to work on flicking, then I would put on these settings. This will spawn in balls in front of you that you can easily use to flick to and practice your flicking however you want to. For me, flicking was never really an issue, but tracking was, so I implemented tracking into my everyday warm-up routine. The best part about a warm-up routine is you can cater it to you. But no matter what you need to work on, the shooting range should just be the start of your warm-up routine. If you need to practice movement and crosshair placement, I would actually recommend going into an arcade and turning on only free-for-all and team deathmatch. In this, you're actually going to be practicing against real players and how real players swing and move, where head level is, and things of that nature. So this will help you actually practice gunfights, your movement, and where you need to be positioning yourself, which will make it a lot easier for you to warm up. And that's really all you need to warm up. Warming up your game sense generally isn't as important as you think it is, so I wouldn't even recommend worrying about that because game sense isn't really something you can warm up. It's just something that you learn over time. But simply getting a warm-up routine wasn't the only thing that I did to get out of gold and get into champion. So what are some things that you can do? Well, the first thing that you can do is learn every single ranked map. The best way to learn every single ranked map, one, is to play on those ranked maps. If you play a bunch on Clubhouse, you'll know where everybody pushes normally, and you'll know how to defend the site normally after just watching your teammates do it. However, learning how the map plays out and actually learning the map are two different things. The best way to actually learn a map for yourself is to load into a custom game and just look around at the rooms. If you run around a map in a custom game for long enough, you're bound to memorize what all the rooms look like and where they are. If you look at the bottom of your screen as well, you can see that you have a compass. Above the compass, it tells you what room you're in and what the name of the room is. So now I know that this is called bedroom. Most people call it master for master bedroom, but you get the idea. People call this logistic office, but because most callouts are shortened, people call this logi. This is called gym. Everyone calls it gym. So now if you hear the callout gym, you'll know where to look, and you can also tell your teammates where to look by learning callouts. So not only does it help you and your team, but it helps you just learn maps overall. And even if you don't need to learn callouts, you can just learn the layout of every map so that you know where to look and when to look at it. Okay, now all of that is pretty surface level. If you're gold, chances are you probably knew that, but I had to go over it just for my newer players that might be watching this video. So what are some niche and advanced things that I learned to actually go from gold to champion? One of the first things I learned that's very important is operator selection. Sure, you can hit champion by just fragging out on Ash and Doc, but if you're Hardstuck gold, chances are you don't have the aim or the game sense to do that. So what I would do every single ranked game is I would see what my teammates are picking, and I would pick off of that. If my teammates are trying to rush in the bomb site, I have an Ashe player, I have a Blitz player, I have a Dokkaebi player, and I have some dude playing Flores. The only thing that they're not doing is opening up a hard breach. So then I would go Thermite or I would go Ace. You get the idea. Essentially, if you see a gap that needs to be filled on your team, you can fill that gap. Another thing I would do specifically on defense is I would do strats that weren't team reliant. A great example of what I'm talking about is this one, my strat that I use on Bakery every single time I play Kitchen on Cafe. I know that in solo queue, I can't rely on my teammates, so I made up a strat that I can use by myself that I don't need my teammates for. All I do is I put a proximity alarm on my double door, I put a my disc on my double door, I put a proximity alarm under the small bakery table that can watch the hop in from the window, and then I reinforce my small bakery wall to make it to where I can sit behind bakery without someone shooting me from that window. Then all I do is I sit behind bakery and I keep giving myself magnets for the double door, and I can sit and solo hold bakery without anybody really doing anything or me needing a single teammate. I find that this strategy, even in solo queue, nets me free kills and free round wins because it's not team reliant. It's something I can do myself, and it's in a power position, meaning yes, if I die, we might lose the round, but at least the round loss is on me, and I can learn more from losing than I would learn if I just tried to spawn peek with Doc and I died immediately. So not only am I putting my place in self-reliant positions where I don't need my teammates, making it to where I can win more, but I'm also putting myself in positions where if I do die, there's more that I can learn because I'm actually trying to hold a position and use utility rather than just running around fragging. Which is why I honestly think that the best way that I went from Hardstuck Gold to Champion is by using utility and making up solo queue strats and playing hard support rather than just trying to frag out all the time. You might think it's boring, but I think having these little solo queue strats that you make up and being self-reliant is what makes this game fun and separates it from like Call of Duty or Valorant. An example of a strategy you shouldn't be doing in solo queue is this cache and CC extension with Castle for playing the gym bedroom bomb site. This is a great strategy, don't get me wrong. A lot of people extend into CC cache with Castle, whether it be castling this door and getting the 3-site windows, or doing something a little bit more aggressive like the strategy that I use here. Now, yes, I do use this strat in solo queue, but it's only because I know how to make it work in solo queue. I'm not saying that you can't, but in the lobbies that the average viewer I have are in, you can't rely on your teammates to make all of the feet holes on this wall. You can't rely on your teammates to open up a rotate here, 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 and to optionally open up a rotate here. All of that, plus putting information for main stairs, plus setting up site and reinforcing. If you're in solo queue, you have to do a lot of that, much less make an entire extension with Castle into CC cache. Not only is this bad because you have to do most of the site setup and you don't have time to do this strat, but this is heavily reliant on teammates. You have to rely on your teammates to watch Logi so you don't get pinched out of sight. You have to rely on your teammates to trick the jacuzzi wall so they don't do a site rush and you're left not doing anything. You have to rely on having a second player to watch your CC while you're watching your red stairs, or vice versa. It's just too reliant, and if your team is ass, you're gonna have to set up site and you can't do the strategy anyways. Whereas, if you were doing a strategy like playing Mira on the Logi wall and putting a Mira on the bathroom wall, that's super self-sufficient. You can watch every entry point to the site, you can make all the rotates, and you can anchor site and help where it's needed because you're in Logi, which is kind of a bridge room, if that makes sense. So even if you have a great strategy like the Castle extension that is used in most competitive matches and in a lot of high elo plays, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you or good if you want to rank up, especially in the low to mid tier lobbies. So you have to pick simple strats that you can support on your own that hold power positions where you don't need your team to do much. And understanding when to do that and where to do that was a huge reason, arguably the #1 reason that made me go from Hardstuck Gold to being a champion level player. But there's still some other tips that I can give you that help me get there a little bit faster. First of all, I think having the right settings on is huge. If you're on console, a lot of this isn't going to mean anything to you. For my PC players, stick around for my display settings really quickly. Never play on 16:9. You want at least a little bit of stretched res, and usually people stick to 16:10 because it doesn't even look like your game is stretched, but you still get all the benefits of having stretched res. I'd only recommend running 4.3 if you only use holographic sites and you're not playing online and you're playing on LAN, like in tournaments or with your friends. So for most people, just use 16:10. I recommend 88 FOV as well, and for your graphic settings, I recommend having pretty much everything on all low. The only exceptions being your LOD quality, your texture filtering, your shadows, and having anti-aliasing set to off. I also recommend for your HUD that you turn off teammate outlines if you've been playing the game for a while and you don't like accidentally shoot teammates with this setting. I also recommend that you have your crosshair on either green or purple. I recommend having screen shake intensity off. And then I also recommend having drone after prep on manual, visible throw trajectory on, as well as gadget deployment and drone deployment both on advanced. Having good settings can be the difference between you seeing somebody, killing them, or not killing them, so make sure that you have on good settings. But settings honestly aren't going to get you a higher rank. They're just going to slightly help you in gunfights. So now I'm going to go over the most crucial and final tip in this video that actually helped me some of the most to go from Hardstuck Gold to a champion level player. And that is learning to manage your aggression. So how do you know when to be aggressive and when to be passive? Well, there is a very, very, very easy rule that you can follow to know when to do this perfectly to a T. It's dependent whether you're on attack or defense, but for defense, you want to be passive if you are up in man count or if you are even in man count. The only time you want to be aggressive on defense, which means just swinging people or holding aggressive angles, is when you are down in man count. Now, why would you want to be aggressive if you have the disadvantage? Wouldn't that give you a more of a disadvantage if you die? Well, yes, that's true. But if you were to be passive in, let's say, a 2v5 scenario, all you're allowing the attackers to do is sit and drone you, talk to each other, and get a really nice pinch onto you and surround you, and just flood you at the exact same time with utility and flashes, making it completely impossible for you to clutch the round out. It is completely impossible for any person to shoot 5 people at the exact same time. Yes, even if you're Spoit or Uzi. However, it is completely possible for any player to shoot 1 person at a time, which is why the only time you want to be aggressive on defense is if you're down in man count, in which case you would need to aggressively take 1v1s until the man count is even. Then you would play passive, fall back to sight, or you would wait to swing an angle until you have information. On attack, it's pretty much the exact same thing, but just slightly different. When you're down in man count, you want to bait a little bit. When you're down in man count, especially in ranked, people are just going to swing you because they're confident in their round win and they want to get the round over with. So holding an angle for a good 10 seconds waiting for a swing isn't a terrible idea to get a free pick or two. But I wouldn't bait for more than 20 seconds, otherwise you're just wasting time. If baiting isn't working, obviously getting aggressive is the next best thing. So drone in, get information, and take 1v1s until the man count is even. Once the man count is even, or you got the entry frag and you're officially up in man count at the beginning of the round, this is where people want to start slowing down, droning, and setting up for an execute. I learned this because when I would watch pro players, and it was a 5v5 scenario at the very beginning of the round, their entry players would get a kill on attack, and then all of a sudden they would stop taking space, they would all stand still, and their supports would start droning. And I thought, well, they just got the advantage. Why would they not continue their momentum and just roll through the defense? That just made sense, right? Well, actually, it's a bad move. The second that entries get that first kill, what they do is they call for everybody to slow down and everybody to start re-droning. This is called a reset. You don't want to risk overheating and getting too confident after 1 kill and allowing the defenders to take 1v1s and even out the man cap like I talked about earlier. So the second that you get a kill on attack, you want to start playing passive, start droning in, and then with the information you gained, then you want to set up for an execute. In solo queue, it's a lot harder to do that with teammates, but even then, just start droning yourself in and looking for avenues that you can take and gaps that you can fill to be able to get more kills or to get the bomb down. Once you're even in man count, then if you ever are up in man count, you can play extremely passive, or if you're down in man count, you can start to be aggressive and take 1v1s. But that's the golden rule for either attack or defense. If you're down in man count, play aggressive. If you're up in man count, play passive. Learning that golden rule genuinely made me better than anything I'm ever going to tell you in this video did. One side note before I end the video, I do want to give you one more tip, and that is to think of this as an objective-based game more than a kill-based game. Essentially, always be thinking about what you need to do to win the round. If you're on attack, you need to plant the bomb. Sure, getting kills will win you the round, but planting the bomb makes it a lot easier because you don't need to get those kills if you just plant the bomb. So constantly be thinking, okay, I need to plant the bomb. What can I do to plant the bomb? Okay, I need to get to site. What helps me get to site? Okay, I need to open a wall. How do I open a wall? Okay, I'm gonna bring thermite. Just that, like, step-by-step thinking will make you so much more of a better player. On defense, too, same thing. If the bomb gets planted, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, I need to defuse the bomb. Okay, what do I need to do to defuse the bomb? Okay, I need to take 1v1s and kill people so it's safe for me to defuse. Okay, let me do that. A lot of people get stunned in clutch scenarios or later in the round because they don't know how to execute. They don't know what to do late round. Just have an objective-based mindset, and that will completely go away for you. And all of those tips, with a little bit more, is how I went from Hardstuck Gold to R6 Champion in less than a year's time. If you have any questions about anything else that I might have done, let me know in the comments. I stream every day on Twitch if you want to learn more. My name's Alka. Check out this next video.